is that we also have to understand what the new normal is for the U.S. economy. If you see, based on our best estimates, a lot of analysis, looking forward, something like 80,000 jobs a month is normal. That's about what we need to see if unemployment's going to stay around 4.7%. So that's a big shift in psychology. If you got an 80,000 employment report 2 years ago when we were averaging over 200,000, people said that's terrible, it's bad news, you're kind of feeding into this, everything's terrible. But that's actually a normal job growth number when you're at full employment. So I'm expecting and actually want to see job growth actually slow. So again, we don't overshoot the mark too much in terms of the macroeconomy. The second is trend growth. And this is a huge issue. It gets into this issue of what are the problems we really need to be addressing in terms of fiscal regulatory policies. And that is the demographics have turned against us in terms of growth. Labor force trend growth is about 0.5%. It has been a little higher last year, but it moves up and down over year to year. But trend growth in labor force about 0.5%. That's because it's much slower than the past for a couple reasons. One is labor demographics, workforce is getting older. Population growth is actually slower today than it used to be. And finally, a lot of the labor force growth in the 70s and 80s was women entering the labor force. Well, they're in the labor force now and they're staying, but they're not adding to labor force growth. That's just a constant there. And the second is productivity growth. Despite all the amazing innovations, despite all the things that you can do on your smartphone and the way we can communicate around the world on Skype and other devices, productivity numbers have been really bad for the last 10 years, around 1.25% growth of productivity on average. And unless something significantly changes in the innovation investment in our economy, I expect that to continue. And taking that productivity piece in the demographics, it means that trend GDP growth is probably around 1.5 to 1.75%. So again, that's kind of my forecast over the next couple of years of growth, around 1.5 to 1.75%.